Hi, welcome to my channel English Audio Stories. Ready for today's English story? Let's go. Voices in the Forest. It was a warm summer evening when Daniel and his two friends, Mark and Sarah, decided to take a walk in the forest outside their town. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and purple. "Let's go deeper this time," said Mark, always the adventurous one. Sarah hesitated. "It's getting dark. Are you sure this is a good idea?" Daniel smiled. He liked the forest, the smell of pine trees, the sound of leaves under his shoes, the cool evening air. It always made him feel free. "Come on, we'll be fine." "We know the path," he said. The group followed the narrow trail between tall trees. Soon, the lights of the town disappeared behind them. The forest grew darker, and the sounds of the evening changed. Birds stopped singing, and the only noise was the crunch of their steps. After a while, they reached a small clearing. In the middle stood a large stone covered with moss. Mark climbed on top of it and raised his arms. "Here we are, explorers of the unknown," he shouted, laughing. Suddenly, a faint sound echoed between the trees. It wasn't the wind or an animal. It sounded like a whisper, soft but clear. Everyone froze. "Did you hear that?" Sarah asked, her voice shaking. Daniel nodded slowly. The whisper came again, this time closer, like words carried on the air. None of them could understand it, but it felt like someone, or something, was speaking to them. The friends exchanged nervous glances. The forest no longer felt welcoming. It felt alive, and it was watching them. The three friends stood in silence, listening. The forest seemed to hold its breath. Then the whisper returned, a little louder this time, as if drifting from behind the trees on the left. Mark jumped down from the stone. "Let's check it out," he said, his eyes shining with excitement. Sarah shook her head. "Are you crazy?" "We don't know what it is." Daniel tried to stay calm. "Maybe it's just the wind, or someone else walking nearby." But deep inside, he didn't believe his own words. The sound hadn't been random. It had rhythm, almost like speech. They followed the trail a few steps further. The whisper came again, clearer now. It was low and stretched out like an echo. None of them understood the language, but it made the hair on Daniel's arms stand up. Suddenly, a shadow moved between the trees. It was quick, almost too quick to notice, but Sarah gasped. "I saw someone. Right there." She pointed into the dark forest. Mark ran a few steps forward, but Daniel grabbed his arm. "Wait. If it's a person, why don't they just come out?" The whisper rose again, circling them this time. It seemed to come from every direction. Daniel turned around, trying to find the source. But there was nothing. Just trees, branches, and darkness slowly swallowing the last light of the day. The clearing that had felt like a safe resting place now felt like a trap. Sarah's voice broke the silence. "We should go back. Now." For the first time, Mark didn't argue. The group turned back toward the path they had come from. Their steps were faster now, almost hurried. The forest grew darker with every minute, and the whispers followed them like a shadow. Daniel glanced over his shoulder. Nothing moved, yet the sound seemed closer. "Keep walking," he whispered, though his own voice trembled. They reached a fork in the trail. Daniel was sure they had come from the right side, but something felt wrong. The trees looked different, and the air was colder. Sarah pointed to a trunk near the path. "Look at that." A strange mark was carved into the bark, a circle with a line through it. The cut was fresh, as if made only hours ago, Another tree nearby had the same symbol. "What does it mean?" Sarah asked. Mark touched the wood with his hand. "Maybe hikers left it, or kids playing around." But Daniel shook his head. "No, this is something else. It feels intentional." The whisper came again, and this time it formed something almost recognizable, a sound like a name, stretched and broken. Sarah grabbed Daniel's arm. "It said something. Didn't you hear it?" Before he could answer, a sudden wind rushed through the branches, bending them violently, though the night was still. Leaves swirled around their feet. "We need to move," Daniel said firmly. "Whichever way leads out, we'll find it." They chose the right path and began walking quickly. But the deeper they went, the more symbols they saw. Each one cut into the trees, each one leading them further inside instead of out. For the first time, Daniel realized the truth. The forest didn't want them to leave. The trail narrowed until the trees stood so close together that branches scratched against their shoulders. The air was heavy, filled with the smell of damp earth. The whispers grew louder, layering over each other like a dozen voices speaking at once. "Stop," Daniel said suddenly. He pointed ahead. The path ended in a wide circle of trees. In the middle stood a fallen log, and around it the ground was covered with strange carvings. Circles, lines, and shapes stretched across the soil as if someone had carefully drawn them with a knife. Sarah's breath quickened. "This is not normal. We shouldn't be here." Mark tried to sound brave, but his voice cracked. Maybe it's an old ritual place?" They stepped into the circle cautiously. The whispers fell silent, leaving only the pounding of their hearts. For a moment, the forest seemed frozen. Daniel bent down to touch one of the marks. The moment his fingers brushed the soil, a sudden chill shot through his body. He pulled back quickly. "Something's wrong here," he muttered. Then, all at once, the voices returned, louder than ever. They weren't just whispers now. They were calling, chanting, echoing through the trees. The sound vibrated in the ground, in their bones. Sarah covered her ears and shouted, "We need to get out!" But as they turned, the trees seemed to have shifted. The path behind them was gone, replaced by endless darkness. The forest had closed its doors. Daniel looked at his friends, his face pale. "It doesn't want us to leave." The three friends stood frozen, surrounded by tall black trees. The chanting voices echoed louder, circling them like an invisible storm. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "We're trapped. We'll never get out." Daniel forced himself to breathe slowly. "No, there has to be a way. The forest is leading us somewhere. We just need to listen differently." Mark frowned. "Listen? To that?" He pointed around, where the voices swelled and fell like waves. Daniel nodded. "Yes, not all of them sound the same. Some are trying to scare us, but one is guiding us." They stood silently, focusing. Among the chaotic whispers, Daniel noticed a softer tone, steady and calm. It repeated a single sound, like a path hidden in the noise. He pointed to the left. "That way." They followed the faint voice, step by step. The symbols on the trees grew fewer. The air became lighter. The forest seemed to push back, the angry whispers screaming, but the gentle voice cut through them, leading forward. Finally, after what felt like hours, the trees opened and the group stumbled onto the familiar trail. Ahead, through the branches, they saw the first lights of their town. Sarah let out a laugh of relief. "We made it." Mark shook his head. But what was all that? Who or what was speaking to us? Daniel didn't answer. He turned back once more. In the distance, the forest was silent, still, and dark. Only one thought remained in his mind. They hadn't escaped because the forest let them go. They had escaped because something inside it wanted them to. Great job. You finished the story. Keep listening, keep learning, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.